everyone. Watch till the end of the video for a surprise. I'll see you there. I found a very different doctor in the dark web. Story by u/Oren Cutuli. In retrospect, it's kinda ironic that my love for the science I chose would be my predicament. I mean, it looks unfair that my curiosity and thirst for knowledge would lead me in such a shady path. The only thing I ever wanted was to be better at my job. I am a medicine student. For as long as I can remember myself, I was fascinated by the human body. No matter how bad we treat it sometimes, it is nothing short of perfection. The structure and function of the organs, the delicate high-functioning brain, the blue snake-like veins carrying the blood into the heart to be cleaned and recycled. Simply magnificent. It was a simple choice for me. I wanted to study more about the body, learn all the details it hides, and sometimes rectify it. Now, don't get me wrong, I didn't really enjoy studying to get to medicine school. Most of the time, it was a tedious process of learning about irrelevant topics that I really didn't care about, but I managed to pull through and get into the university. There, I developed very mixed feelings. Although some lectures were diving into the secrets of what we were supposed to be learning about, most were simply stuff read from a PDF presentation by a semi-bored professor. The kind of knowledge you could acquire by reading some science magazines. Magazines that I had already read. So, most of the times, I went to the campus feeling indifferent, secretly hoping that I could get to learn something amazing like perhaps a new fun fact in the anatomy class. But that was rare. I can't say I have many friends. Come to think of it, I don't think I have any. I am friendly with all of my classmates and peers, but we really don't have anything else in common, other than we study the same subject. They didn't study the way I did. Most of them valued the prestige and paycheck that comes with being a doctor. Some truly wanted to help others in times of sickness. But no one wanted to actually learn, not the way I did. They consumed themselves in parties, drugs, and sex with each other, while I went the extra mile and studied something more than the given material every night, just to tame my lust for knowledge. I remember the day Jonathan approached me in the campus cafeteria. It was in a break between some classes that we both participated. He sat opposite to me and asked me how I was doing. We chatted a bit about everything and nothing, and mostly regarding some projects that we were working as homework at that time. I liked this guy. Jonathan wasn't the best student or the most intriguing person, but I knew he also truly loved medicine and tried his best to learn more than what the university spoon-fed us. I respected him for that, so it came as a pleasant surprise when he introduced me to a new idea. "Hey man," he said, "I know that you feel bored here. I sort of get it too sometimes." Boy, was he right. "I have found a man that really knows his stuff," he continued, and then more hesitantly. "There is a link to the dark web of a very good doctor. His methods are a bit unconventional, so he can't broadcast for the normies, but he is really skillful. I mean, at least his teaching has helped me a lot with my exams." He laughed at this, and I thought about it for a while before answering. "Sure," I said. "Let's see what this mysterious doctor has to offer." By then, I had read many books and articles already, and I would give anything to see something fresh. Jonathan smiled and gave me a note with an alleged link. "Nice, bro." If you need any help with this dark web thing, give me a call. My phone is also on that note. Would be cool to chill out in the doctor's chat room and learn from him. I didn't have to call him. I politely said goodbye as he left and resumed with my lunch. But I was curious now. I am by no means a computer guy, but I can work my way through some stuff. So, I won't bore you with the details of how I got to the site. Most of you here are familiar with this kind of stories anyway. The path is simple. You get the appropriate software to enable you to go into the deep web, and then you start searching. You have to be very specific for what you are looking for. Otherwise, you'll get lost in a mountain of cyber junk. And specific I was. I got to the link I wanted relatively fast. It was a site called Anatomy 102. It had a plain gray template and the classical ancient Greek symbol of medicine as a logo. A snake wrapping itself around a rod, although it was a little different than the usual one. The snake looked like it was biting on something, and that something sort of resembled a human skull. That looked a little peculiar. There was a camera focused on an empty white room and also a chat room. The chat room had around 50 people active, casually talking about various medicine specializations, speculating what they would learn about today. And around 10 minutes later, 2 people appeared in the room, both wearing the typical operation room uniforms, dragging a big table of surgery tools with them. One of them disappeared from the screen, and the other stood in front of the camera still wearing his mask.
Hello, my dear audience. It brings me great pleasure to see many of you here today. This is a place of learning and understanding, so I would advise all of you to pay attention and observe all the details.
I liked this intro. A true professor.
For all those who happen to be new here, let me introduce myself. I am going by the name of Dr. Mason here, but you can just address me as Doctor in the chat. Every 2 weeks we gather around here to discuss something about anatomy and how it works in practical ways.
As he finished his words, the second guy got in the frame again, this time pushing a surgery table before him. The table was full. I guess it had a dead body or a sleeping person on it. By that time, the count of the chat room read 250 online people. The other guy, also wearing a mask, took the sheet that was covering the body on the bed to reveal something that I was not prepared for. A living human, fully awake, muffled and tied on the bed with leather straps. He was a middle-aged with brown hair and very scared look in his eyes. The man was sweaty and in obvious distress, but he couldn't do much. He was tied like a piece of meat as he was.
As you may know, the doctor continued, the digestive system is one of the most important systems in the human body. It is the source of all the energy input and output of animals, and today, we'll give it a closer look.
The chat box was filled with lots of expressions of happiness, as people seemed to be content with the idea of the lesson. I, for once, felt nervous. I could never expect what followed next. The doctor started operating the man on the bed without using any anesthesia. He cut open an incision in his belly while the man's screams were drowned behind the muffler. After that, he started taking parts of the victim's intestines out and showing them on the camera, talking in detail about everything, and also applied pressure at certain points to demonstrate what he was talking about, generating huge amounts of pain for the helpless victim. During the whole process, he showed no hint of emotion. The chat was filled with questions, most of which he replied to, same way our professors talked to us back in uni. He paid extra attention to those who wanted him to experiment on the limitations of the victim. He noted that the people asking those questions had true motivation to learn and will progress in their career. After that statement, he followed through with the suggestions given to him. Blood had started to make a puddle on the floor. Every now and then the victim would faint by the sheer pain he felt, but the doctor's helper would wake him up every time. The doctor insisted that it is important for the patient to have his senses in order for us to take notes of his reactions. I was shocked, but I couldn't look away. Same thing when you see a gruesome accident on the street, and you know that if you check to see what happened, you'll feel the urge to throw up, but you still turn your head and look, your eyes thirsty for the odd and the gore. The procedure was getting more and more extreme. The incision was even bigger now, and the doctor was explaining the reflexes of the stomach while holding the actual man's organ on his hand. He applied pressure to it, and a wave of gastric fluids went through the now crying man's esophagus, choking him as he was lying face up. It didn't last much longer after this. The victim went unconscious, and it seems that even the helper couldn't bring him up anymore. After a few tries, the helper looked at the doctor and nodded. The doctor then returned his face to the camera.
All right, class. That's all I had to talk about today. Any questions?
A few messages appeared on the chat box, and he selectively answered some of them.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we had for today's class,
he said, and then continued.
Okay, who would like to volunteer for the next lesson?
The chat was suddenly silent.
Oh, come on, such a shy audience. You'll never become true scientists if you are afraid to take risk. But anyhow, most of you know the procedure. If no one volunteers, I will randomly choose someone from the chat, and by next lecture in 2 weeks' time, he will be the person in the bed, leading all of you guys into enlightenment. To be honest, the patient's job is more important than mine. I am just explaining things, so he should be very proud and cherish the fact that he is actually the real teacher.
Still, silence.
All right then, but I am not happy about that,
he went on.
Let me find someone myself.
He appeared to be searching for something on his monitor.
Username Healthy Raven 96 will be with us next lesson, and I will see you all then.
Healthy Raven 96 got instantly disconnected. The others started to log out too, while some stayed to discuss the lesson. I turned off my PC. What had I just watched? This was more like a cult than a classroom. It wasn't natural to use a human guinea pig for teaching. But still, I learned so much. This person talked with so much passion for science and had a strange charisma, you may even call it charm. But no matter, I decided to never open this site again. I was not going to be participating in this illegal situation. I knew how wrong this was, but deep inside me, my everlasting thirst was still demanding more. I broke my promise 2 weeks later. It was the day of the supposed lecture, and I just couldn't take it out of my mind. I logged in for Anatomy 102 once again, and this time, a young woman was on the bed. The process was similar. Dr. Mason introduced himself and started his lesson, this time focused on the nervous system. I was hooked before I even knew it and watched the entire talk without flinching this time. Until the moment that the unlucky girl was dead and I hadn't even moved from my seat. And this became a part of my life. I was following every lecture showing 100% attendance. I watched as men, women, and some rare times even underage people were brought to their untimely death for the sake of science. I started participating actively, asking questions about amputations and tissue damage, and sometimes I was the one who suggested the craziest experiments. I wasn't addicted to the gore in particular, but it was a small price to pay for knowledge. I learned so much, for example, that the pain threshold that we are taught that the human body can withstand is bullshit. I saw with my very own eyes how much the human organism can suffer before giving up for good. That, and many other things that are not to be told in this post. The months went by fast, and I kept watching the lectures. Some rare times, there was someone inspired so much from the doctor's words that he or she would volunteer for the lesson making, and all of us will sigh in relief. But those times were rare. It was mostly Russian roulette every week. I was scared, of course, but the risk was well worth the reward. At the same time, I studied even harder, completely locking myself out of the real world. I wanted to learn even more now, so much was I inspired by this masked man. Then, a day came which I never expected to come. The doctor had finished the lecture, slowly turning a man's brain into mashed potatoes, and as always, was looking for a volunteer. After the usual awkward silence, I heard something truly terrifying.
Okay then, students. Next to come here with us will be Lotus Eclipse.
My username. My stupid username, made as a pun of my favorite car. I had thought that this might happen, but never actually thought it would. The chances were always pretty low, and I was enjoying the classes way too much to stop. For the first time since that fateful day that I learned about this damn site, I called the only man that could understand me, Jonathan. He picked up the phone, and we talked for a long time, and in the end we managed to formulate a solution. We spent the rest of the time until the lecture in my house. We were together all the time in order to succeed what we planned. 3 days before the lesson was to happen, we were attacked while we were in the house. I don't know how they found us, but truth be told, the doctor had never failed to locate his force volunteer. He was with his helper as I had predicted. Jonathan had a flash earlier this week and had bought a gas mask as precaution. I don't know how he foresaw that, but we were prepared for the gas that our stalkers used that night. I guess that's how the doctor managed to get his victims in the operating room in one piece every time. People perhaps were prepared for an assault, but very few had thought of that. I was lucky to have access to a gun, heirloom of my early past father, and managed to shoot the knee of the doctor before he could attack. The helper was not much of this ice-cold man that I had thought of when I watched the live streams. He was very willing to help us with whatever we wanted in exchange for his life. And after I got all the information I wanted, I shot him in the head just to take his annoying whining out of my ears. And here we are today. As I'm typing this, I hear the muffled voice of a man behind me. It was easy to get the codes for the streaming and the doctor's username and password from the crying helper pleading for his life, and so that I could continue the job and the idea he had started. I felt that he had helped me a lot during this time, and it was time for me to help others myself. With Jonathan at my side, we would venture to experiments which no one had ever dared to conduct. We would take science and medicine many steps ahead through our will to try new things. But it just felt right that I would give Dr. Mason a great gift. He always believed that the man in the bed was doing the greater sacrifice, and I wanted him to have this honor for his very last appearance in the classroom. His screams and violent shaking on the bed, though, gave a different suggestion. I guess he wasn't such a believer and a pioneer as he always thought. But no matter. The time is now for someone to take his place. Someone with vision, skills, and the cunningness. Someone like me to continue his work. So friends, I invite you all to join us. We will learn together and find answers to all the questions we still have for the human body, so that in time, we can have a perfect knowledge of medicine and its practices. Come to the stream and be part of the class as we will examine all that there is to the human organism. And feel free to ask any questions you like. My helper and I will be happy to answer them or show some real-life examples to help you understand better. Now, if you'll excuse me, the lesson is about to start. I have planned a very special lecture as a parting gift for Dr. Mason. I will see you all in class.
Don't do jobs off the deep web. Story by u/Crispy Christopher. This all started a week ago when I lost my job and was running behind on bills. I lived in a simple house and that job was all that held my life together. After a night of drinking and watching TV, I started looking for a new job. Most of them looked boring, just 9-to-5 office jobs, but one caught my eye. It was an ad on the side of the screen that read, "High-paying jobs for hire. This isn't just your normal 9-to-5 job." In desperation, I clicked on the shady ad. Slowly but surely, a new website loads, with multiple links to different jobs with different descriptions. Deep web jobs. House sitting, $100 per shift. Stay in a camera room, watch all the rooms, keep the house safe. Rules in link. Seems easy, I thought to myself. God, do I regret that. Crop harvest, $150 per field. Harvest a field of corn. Tools are provided. Rules in link. Reading down all the jobs, the house sitting seemed the easiest, so I clicked on the link, eager for the $100. On the screen, a sign-up sheet popped up, asking for my email. I typed it in quickly and was met with a message. "We hope to see you soon." Satisfied with that, I hopped in bed and turned off the lights. I start to drift off when I hear a buzz from my phone. Irritated, I get up and check my phone. A new email? I thought to myself. I clicked on the notification. "Your application has been accepted. Thank you for applying to the house-sitting job. You will stay at the house from 12 a.m. until 4 a.m., and you must follow these rules. Your money will arrive at 6 a.m. after your shift. Always, no matter what you hear or see, stay in the camera room. Either don't bring your phone, or if you do, do not turn it on, even if you get a notification. I will not email you during your shift. Make sure to bring something that can play music fairly loudly. Arrive at 12 or a little before 12. If you arrive past 12, do not enter the house and send me an email. From 12 to 1, you're allowed to roam the house, but make sure to be in the upstairs camera room by 1. Turn all the lights off, lock the doors, and close the blinds. From 1 until 2, watch the cameras. If you see a man in the living room watching TV, turn that camera off until you hear the TV turn off from downstairs. Ignore any sounds that you hear around the house. If you feel anything touch you, stop moving and close your eyes until the feeling goes away. From 2 until 3, open the blinds in the camera room. If you hear a voice from the window, do not look at them. The conversation will be normal, and once they say goodbye, it's safe to close the blinds. This event can happen any time in the hour. If you see a woman cooking in the kitchen, you have a blue button on your desk that turns on a loud sound in the kitchen. Press and hold that button until the woman disappears. From 3 until 3:33, turn on your music device as loud as possible. Cover your ears, close your eyes, and ignore any sounds or movement around you. If the music stops, make any sound of your own to drown out what's happening around you. After 3:33, you are allowed to roam the house until 4. Do not leave before 4, and do not leave more than 5 minutes after 4. If any rules are not completed correctly, hide under the desk and do not move until 4. That is all. Your shift starts tomorrow night at 471 Pedersen Drive. Sincerely, Mr. Salazar. I must have read that email 10 times over, thinking this was a prank or something. No way do I actually have to follow these crazy rules, I thought to myself, entranced at how specific the rules were. I put my phone back down to charge and went to sleep, still confused by the email. All I could do the next day was think about what the email said. Man in the living room, woman in the kitchen, conversation with a person in the window. It all seemed too crazy to be true, but I couldn't help but find myself 15 minutes before 12 with an old iPod in my pocket, standing at 471 Pedersen Drive. I entered the house. It had a sort of old but still livable vibe to it. The house was dusty, but the kitchen and living room were spotless. I made my way upstairs, and at the end of a long hallway stood the camera room. It was barren and small, with nothing but a chair, a camera monitor, and a couple of windows in it. I sat down in the chair. Man, I hope this is worth it. It wasn't. Looking at the computer's clock, it's 12:03. I have 1 hour to look around the house. First, I head back to the living room, close the blinds, lock the doors, and turn the lights off. Repeat that for all of the rooms, and at 12:56 I was back to the camera room. As soon as it hit 1, I felt a sudden dread, telling me to get up and leave right now. I turned on all the cameras, and on the back of my neck, it felt as if a feather was resting on it. I froze. Keep calm, Chris, keep calm. I closed my eyes as I remembered the rules. It felt like hours, that feather tickling the back of my neck, but I held out, not moving and keeping my eyes closed. The feather went away. I opened my eyes, relieved, and heard behind me slow, coordinated footsteps. I whipped around. The footsteps went away, and a slow chuckle came from the camera speaker. The man was watching TV. The TV was lit up with some cooking show, and the man was chuckling while watching the show. I turned that camera off and hoped I'd done it fast enough. The sound from the TV echoed up the stairs, chilling me to the bone. What the hell is this place? I thought to myself, feeling queasy. And how is it only 1:20? The next 20 minutes were creepy as can be. Unknown sounds bouncing around the house, the man laughing at the TV, watching all the cameras, until the silence hit me hard. The TV had been turned off, and dread had fell upon me once again. The noise from the TV had been a constant for the past 20 minutes, but now that it was off, the silence felt threatening. I slowly turned on the camera and found the room to be empty. I sighed in relief. For what felt like an eternity, my eyes darted around the cameras, on edge, until the clock made a quiet beep, and it turned 2 a.m. I rose from my chair and opened the blinds, revealing the pitch-black lawn outside. I sat back down as the clanging of pots and pans ringed in my ears. I looked down at the blue button beside the monitor, then at the lady, now cooking black eggs in the kitchen, and I was about to press the button. "Hi, Chris." A woman's voice came from the window. I froze, gluing my eyes to the monitor, forcing myself not to look at the window. "Hi, how was your day?" My voice was shaky. It was obvious that I was scared. "I was just strolling around the neighborhood. Saw you were here and I just wanted to say hi." The window she was talking to me through was high enough up off the ground to need a large ladder to get to. "How was your day?" "My day was fine, thanks." The woman in the kitchen started to get louder. "Okay, well, I have to go. It was nice to meet you." "It was nice to meet you too." "Bye." I wanted to get up. I wanted to just close the blinds and never hear her voice again. But something just told me that I should not get up. "Wow, you're a smart one. I thought that would get you. Maybe next time. Goodbye." I waited a few seconds. The last thing I want to see was the face of that lady talking to me. So I waited until I was sure she wasn't there anymore, then closed the blinds. Once that ordeal was over, I realized that the lady in the kitchen was gone, even though I never pressed the button. Oh no, I thought. I'd broken one of the rules, and it was only 2:30. Now, I'm sitting under the desk, typing this out on my iPod, and there's a lady with a ragged apron on, walking in circles around the room. I'm scared to make any noise, so please, if you see an ad for dark web jobs, don't click it. Update. It's 4:30 now. I made it out of the house and I'm safe. My left leg is hurt a little, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you what happened. The lady from the kitchen walked around the room, making soft groans and drooling everywhere. I kept as silent as I could. Freezing time, she turned in my direction. A small beep came from on the desk, notifying me that it had turned 3. The lady in my room melted into the floorboards, screaming a scream of the utmost agony and pain. What I was supposed to do at this point was turn on the music on my iPod, close my eyes and cover my ears, but hiding under the desk, I didn't know if I still had to do that. I waited and waited, and silence was all I could find, until the walls and the floors of the house started to contort. The house shifted and moved into what looked like faces popping out of the walls. The only description of the sound I can think of is a scream of terror itself. I couldn't take it anymore. My mind told me to get up, to run, to get out as fast as I could. But I knew I couldn't. I closed my eyes and turned the music on. The screams were drowned out, and it seemed almost calming. but in the back of my mind, I knew what was happening around me. The music blared loudly. My eyes stayed glued shut. Then the music turned off. I opened my eyes, and the house was normal again. Shakily, I stood up and looked at the clock. 3:34. I got back under the desk and lay there, terrified. But nothing happened. I was sitting there for 35 minutes until the final beep from the clock came, telling me I could finally leave. I got up, walked down the hallway, down the stairs to the front door, and finally, the sweet, cool air of the night hit my face, and in that moment, I felt a relief that was almost euphoric. I walked home and picked up my phone, but when I went to email Mr. Salazar, his email was gone. The website was gone. There was no trace of him at all. I tried to fall asleep, but I couldn't get the faces out of my head. The look they had can't be explained. I don't know if I'm going to get my money, but at this point, I don't care. I just want to never go back to that house again. Update. It's 6 o'clock now. A package somehow appeared at my door, and inside was $80 and a letter. The letter is as follows. You can't escape. Hello again, Chris. I see that you showed up for your shift this morning. I appreciate that. But during your shift, you broke one of the rules. I'm pretty sure you're already aware, but I can tell you don't want to go back. Most people don't. And I'm here to say you can't escape. By entering that house, you pretty much signed your soul away. No matter what you do, you'll always be at that house by 12. That is all. Sincerely, Mr. Salazar. My sleep last night was horrible. I couldn't stop thinking about what happened on my first shift. The whole day, I stayed in bed, terrified for midnight to come. But it had to come eventually. 11:57, I begged that nothing would happen to me. 11:58, I put my iPod in the trash. 11:59, I lay in bed and close my eyes. I feel pressure on my feet, and my soft bed disappears from under me. I open my eyes and find myself inside that cursed house again, with my iPod and a printed paper of the rules in my hands. What? How is this possible? I think to myself. I ran to the door, slamming my fists against it, wanting any way out, but to no avail. I couldn't leave. I defeatedly walked up the stairs and sat in the camera room chair. I sat there, crying for an hour, until 1 o'clock came. And with it came the man laughing at the TV. I turned the camera off and continued to sob, not caring about the sounds around me. But then I felt a hand wrap around my neck. I froze, closed my eyes, tried to control myself. The grip closed tighter and tighter until I could barely breathe. Then it finally left me alone. I gasped for air and grabbed the printed paper of rules given to me at the start of my shift. I looked at the printed sheet of rules, and at the bottom was a handwritten message from Mr. Salazar himself. Good luck. I looked back up at the cameras and composed myself. Okay, Chris, you can do this. You've already been here once. Pull it together. I listened. Not hearing the TV anymore, I turned the camera on, and the clock let out a small beep. It had turned 2 o'clock. I pushed up to open the blinds, but hesitated. Did I really want to talk to her again? Regardless, I pushed the thought away and opened the blinds to be met with a face that only insane people would call a woman. It looked as if she hadn't eaten once in her life. Her skin looked like it was airtight to her bones. She had no meat on her body. Her smile was literally ear to ear. Parts of her skin sagged down at least 2 feet, and her eye sockets had large, black, bloodshot eyes with tiny, beady yellow pupils. "Hello again, Chris." I closed the blinds as quickly as I could, and I went to hide under the desk. But the desk is just a block. No space to hide under. I don't know what to do. I hear slow footsteps coming up the stairs. Oh God. The doorknob is turning. The door is locked. Oh, thank God I remembered to lock it. She's screeching from behind the door. She's slamming her hands on it. It's only a matter of time until she breaks the whole door down. What do I do?
And here are the top comments for my last video. Welcome to Miss Creepy Tales Riddle Time. If you know the answer, feel free to leave it in the comments, and the winner gets to be featured in the next video. From the head down to toes, through every living being I flow. Some people might faint when they see me though. What am I? Hello everyone, it's your creepy sister here. Thank you so much for watching the video. I really appreciate each and every one of you. But I would also like to thank my amazing patrons, my top tippers, and my dearest channel members. Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate it with all of my heart. If you want to support the channel further, you could also choose to become a patron, a tipper, or a channel member. But remember, it's appreciated, but never a requirement. I would also like to announce that we have merch now. The link is in the description of the video, along with all my other social media links, like my Discord server, Twitter, Instagram, and others. You can connect with me and send your stories there. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and comments are highly appreciated. And remember, your fear feeds me.